Jill, what have been some of the challenges in pulling together scientists, industry and the community to participate in the Burdekin water quality tender?
I think the least challenging is bringing the community or the landholders in. I think they're quite happy to participate in a range of different schemes, not just MBIs, and happy to adapt to the different conditions. The conservation tenders are operated in a very similar way to normal grant schemes, so a lot of landholders are quite comfortable with that. Bringing industry in, one of the challenges there was that their approach really comes from a different side than an auction. They're much more focused on input based, on best management practices, whereas we're looking for what those practices can provide, the outcomes. And the industry have invested a lot of time and effort into developing their approach. And for us it was a challenge. We actually did mix the two together in the end, but that was a challenge. It took time and we really could have invested more effort in doing that. We would have got a better outcome. The scientists were also very challenging, basically because we want some quite precise science. So if you've got a best management practice, what is the science outcome? What is the water quality benefit of a particular practice? The scientists don't know that, and they're often reluctant to make sort of ballpark calls. For instance, we wanted to know whether, if it mattered where you were in the catchment, was somebody higher up in the catchment more important or less important than somebody nearer the river mouth? And a lot of scientists aren't really prepared to clarify that for us, so that was a challenge, I guess, too.
How applicable is the approach used in the Burdekin tender to other regions in the Great Barrier Reef?
I think using a conservation tender is very easy to apply in any of the Great Barrier Reef catchments. What we did that was different in the Burdekin was that we mixed industry, so we combined grazing and sugarcane in the same tender. And some of the results from that tender were quite interesting. For instance, the sugarcane growers in the Burdekin would prefer to compete with graziers in their own region than with sugarcane growers in another region. So for us an interesting outcome was that it would be better to run mixed tenders in one region than a single industry tender over a number of regions. But one of the implications of that was changing the scope or the scale of a tender. You will impact on participation rates, so that if you opened it up to more people, you might have more people participating. But it would also influence the way they develop their bid prices, so they're quite likely to act more strategically and change their bid prices as well as their participation, and it's important to consider both those elements, I think.